Hi, welcome to 90% Knitting. This is episode 212, and I'm Lisa, your host, also known as Fiber Nymph on Ravelry and Instagram. Today is Thursday, August 11th, also known as 8 days before my wedding. 8 days. 8 days is the answer to any question, ever. It's not 42. Is that what it was in the Hitchhiker's Guide? It was 42 or something, and there was something about a towel. I don't know. I pretty much have never really been into that. I saw the movie once. But anyway, it's not 42. It is 8. The answer is 8. Where are my keys? 8. What are we having for dinner? 8. Is there any clean laundry? 8. 8. 8 days. 8 days. That's the answer. So, hey, how you doing? Let me say hi to a couple people before I get too rambly. Robin from Michigan and Joe from Tennessee both introduced themselves in the 90% Knitting group on Ravelry. So hello to both of you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for introducing yourselves. And everybody else that is with us today, hello, and thank you for coming and watching. You're brave. You're brave because 8 days. Yeah. You know, I'm not stressed. It would be incorrect to say I'm stressed. I'm a little crazed just because I know everything that has to happen between now and next Wednesday, because we're leaving for Florida next Wednesday, which makes that 6 days. But yeah, I know everything that I need to get done. And honestly, it's not overwhelming. I mean, there's a little bit of a lot of things that need to get done. There's not a lot of bit of a lot of things. If it was a lot of things, then I would really be stressed out. It's a little bit of a lot of things. And sometimes that's almost just as bad, though, because, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I feel scattered. I guess that's it. And it's not like that's really any different than my usual self. If you've been watching for any number of months or years, you know I tend to have my scattered moments. But yeah, I can't. This past week especially, I've just had a really hard time focusing on anything. My brain has already left for Florida. It is on the beach. It's standing there taking in the wind and the waves and the sun. It's just waiting for the wedding to start happening. It is not here. It is gone. It's checked out already. Which makes it difficult for me because, like, I have all this stuff to do, and it's very, very hard to do things that require brain function when your brain's absent. You do silly, strange things. It's almost kind of like baby brain. If you've ever had kids, maybe you know what I'm talking about. You know, when you have young children, I always called it baby brain. You know, and you find the TV remote in the refrigerator, or you find that you've put the diaper on the cat and the cat's freaking out and the baby's crying, and, you know, or you forget that you have other kids and then you're like, who's making that noise? No, I don't know. But you get what I mean. It's like just this disconnect, like between normal life and the things you're focused on, and you just don't have enough wherewithal to keep all the balls up in the air at the one time. Or else you're like, where did these balls come from? And why am I doing this? It's that kind of thing. There seems to be a lot of this going around, though. It's not just me, and it's not just me because I'm getting married. It's probably me just in general. You know, the other fun thing to this, okay, schedule-wise, and I'm going to put a disclaimer here, or a warning, I don't know. If you are a guy and don't want to hear about female issues, or you're a woman who doesn't want to hear about female issues, whatever. You know, let's just say that the hormonal timing of this wedding could not be any worse. Because right now, prime PMS time. Yeah. I'll let you take a guess when Aunt Flo's coming to visit. Couldn't be a worse day. Or that's when she's due. You never know with that woman, you know. Sometimes she shows up early, sometimes she shows up late. With my luck, she'll show up right on time. Anyway, you know, there's that. And then there's just the normal being a woman of a certain age, hormonal, weird stuff. And then there's the fact that there's 8 days until the wedding that has me kind of weirdly hormonal and emotional. And I wasn't expecting that. Okay. This is not, I'm not like, you know, a young chippy bride, like in my 20s. You know, I'm not that. I'm not that. It's not that kind of emotional. It's just like, you know, there's been certain things where I just find myself suddenly being very verklempt or very emotional or just feeling things really weirdly that I was not expecting. So I'm just blaming it on all of this stuff rolled up into one. And I just beg your pardon if I'm a little crazy today or scattered or more so than usual or in different ways. We're going to talk about knitting now, though, because there has actually been knitting, and how bad can that be if there's been knitting? And then we can get into all the other crazy stuff, because I guarantee you before the end of this podcast, I am going to talk probably at fairly great length about weddings plans and stuff like that. And that way, I'll put it at the end. That way, if you aren't interested, you don't have to hear it. And if you are, because you want something good to laugh at, there you go. By the way, it's hot, it's humid. I didn't even bother doing my hair today. This is what you're getting. This is me curly. I always look a little crazy curly too, because I don't get cute curls. Like Shannon from Successor, her last episode, her hair looked so cute with those loose curls and everything. My hair doesn't do that. Oh my gosh, my hair does this. And the humidity just doesn't help because it just frizzes it out. Anyway, whatever. Okay, you're not here really to look at my hair. Actually, I have a hair appointment on Saturday. I'm getting my hair cut and colored for the wedding, and I'm getting a pedicure. I'm going to paint my own nails. Hey, check it out. Look at my nails. They're like all the same length, and they're kind of long. Like my nails never get this long. Usually I don't let them get this long because they bug me. And I feel like I'm going to catch them on things, and then I break them, and then I get one and I have to cut it off, and then I just cut them all off because I think that looks funny. And so I've been kind of babying them because I would like to paint my nails for the wedding, because I hardly ever paint my nails. And it's like, I'm probably jinxing myself by talking about this, but I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. But I'm not getting an actual manicure. I'll get a pedicure because I love pedicures. Manicures, meh. Anyway, okay, let's talk about knitting now, shall we? Yes, yes, we shall. Oh poo, I did not grab a sock blocker. Do I have one within easy reach? No, I don't. Sorry. You're going to have an unsock blockered sock to see. Look, I finished a sock. I have a hoe. This is my staggered rib sock. Just sort of a pattern I'm doing on the fly that I've done before. It just gives me something interesting to do while I'm knitting an otherwise plain vanilla sock. But the ribs stagger. I don't know how well you can see it there. I'll show you something else in a minute, though, that will show you the pattern better. But anyway, this is Highland Handmaid's Sugar Maple Sock in her first fall colorway, and I love how it turned out. It really reminds me of a calico cat, but it is also quite fall-like, so it's lovely. Knit on a US 1. And it was funny because I actually knit the foot a little bit too long. It's about a 1/4 inch longer than it really needed to be. But it still fits me fine. I just didn't have to do as many toe decreases. Yeah, so it's fine. Now I just have to make the same mistake on the second sock so they actually match. But otherwise, yeah, I'm very happy with it. And I love this yarn. It's a little toothier. I honestly can't remember. I think it's 75% wool, superwash wool, 25% nylon, if I remember correctly. But anyway, I like it. It's a nice workhorsey kind of yarn, so it holds up to my rough feet. And I finished that this morning, and I immediately cast on the second one because that's my way of keeping second sock syndrome from striking. Say that 10 times fast. So that is the only thing that I have that resembles a finished object this week. I do have, well, I thought I was going to have, matter of fact, I was really optimistic when I was writing my show notes yesterday. I wrote finished one more, but I didn't. I almost finished one more, and I'm talking about my hand-spun Afghan squares. This is the same one that was on the needles last week, and I really thought I would get it finished, but I didn't. It still has one more round of logs to go. And I was knitting on it this morning, and I just wasn't feeling it. You know, sometimes you're totally in the mood for just kind of mindless garter stitch. And when you are, that's great, because then you can just knit and not think. I was not in that mood this morning. This morning I really wanted to finish that sock, and I had another sock that I'm going to show you in a minute that I wanted to work on. And the drive to get this finished was not strong enough. So I hope you're not too disappointed in me, but sometimes you just have to knit what you want to knit. And I did not want to knit on that square this morning, so it's not done. Oh, I did not bring it in, but my antler cardigan, I did work on that a little bit more this week. It didn't get quite as much attention as it's been getting. Last week when I showed it to you, I had both sleeves done through the increases. I finished the first sleeve now. I did the rest of the knitting straight to get it up to the armpit. And if you remember, I said last week that I only had about 2.5 more inches to go because I thought the pattern was crazy for saying how long the sleeve needed to be, and you know, that would have meant like another 4.5 inches. Well, I'll tell you what, I did actually have to knit that much to get it to go from my wrist all the way up to like the crux of my armpit. It was at least another 4 inches that I knit. I can't remember how long it ended up being. I think it actually ended up being a little longer sleeve length than what the pattern called for, which I thought was odd. It's probably about 20 inches, maybe 19, 20 inches. I don't remember now. Apparently I have longer arms than I thought I did. I just didn't, I don't want it to be down to here. Like I didn't want it over my fingertips, but I also didn't want it constantly creeping up. I mean, I push my sleeves up a lot on sweaters, but when I have them down, I really want them to be down like right at my wrist. So I kept knitting and I'm like trying it all on. It's like, darn, it's still not long enough. And I'll do 3 more rounds. Still not long enough. I don't know how many times I did. It was like the black hole of sleeve knitting. So anyway, but the first sleeve is done. I did not work on the second sleeve to finish it up. I think what I'm going to do is I'm planning to take that in the car. That's probably going to be some car knitting for the trip to Florida and back, because the body of the sweater is just going to be a whole lot of mindless stockinette. And that would be good to do in the car, I think, because there's no shaping. I don't think there's any shaping. No, there isn't any shaping, so that would be perfect for car knitting. So that's why I wasn't too worried about working on that this week. So, okay, what else? Oh, I did work on a project you haven't seen in a while, my mini granny square blanket. If you remember, I think I told you a couple weeks ago that I gathered, I was going to gather. I was planning to gather yarn. I told you I bought a basket that I was taking a collection of yarn with me up to Bill's. I don't remember if I told you that I actually did that or not, but I did. Put yarn together. It was really hard to pick because right now I don't have a ball winder and Swift up there, so I have to be choosy about what I take with me. But anyway, I took a basket of yarn, but I also decided that I would take like a couple of projects that are in process. No, wait. Yes, I did. I took 2. One is a design sock that I just need to knit the second sock for Pete's sake, and I'm dilly-dallying on it. So that's up there. And then the other thing I took was my granny square Afghan, because I've got my hand-spun Afghan square blanket here, and I've got that, it's not an Afghan, but that diagonally striped, that bias wrap thing that I'm working on that I haven't worked on in months. That's here too. So I figured big projects like that I have here, I'll take this one up there because I love working on this. I just love this blanket. It's going to take me years to get the 1,000+ squares that I need done for this. But anyway, we had some shenanigans on Sunday that I'll tell you about later, which involved a little bit over an hour's car time. And I did some sock knitting during that, which I don't have to show you, but I'll tell you about it in a minute. But I took this along because I have a whole bunch of these squares that just needed the white edge put around them, and then they needed joined to the Afghan. So that's what I did. I knit edges and I joined. So starting here at this one, on over to here. Those are all ones that I put the edges on and I joined to the blanket this week. So it's only 6, I think, 1, 2, 3, yeah, 6 squares, but it takes some time. I did not weave in those ends yet, obviously. I've been very good, though, about weaving my ends in as I go along. Usually I join a bunch of squares and I weave those ends in before I let myself knit any more of the little squares. So anyway, it's continuing. I just love how colorful it is. It's fun. I could just like finish that row and say that it's like a shawl, but I'm not going to. I'm going to continue to crochet it because it's really the only thing I'm crocheting right now. I keep having the urge to crochet something else. I wish I knew how to do more than just granny squares, and I don't. I think I actually bought a craftsy class one time on crocheting, like basic crochet, and I never watched it. Sort of like most of the rest of the craftsy classes I've ever purchased. I think the only one I ever watched was one on weaving, and I didn't even watch it the whole way through, and I never wove again after I watched it. I have one on, oh, who's the woman who does the custom fit sweaters? Like, I don't remember. She does classes. She was at SSK a few years ago. I have her craftsy class. I never watched it. I think I have the crochet class. I never watched it. I don't know why I don't watch them. They seem like a good idea at the time when I buy them. That's all I can say. Eventually, maybe I will. All right, so mini granny square Afghan. So I also have 2 more socks on the needles now this week that I cast on. This one I cast on here at home last week because I realized I did not have just a plain vanilla sock on the go, and I like to have a plain vanilla sock to take with me places. I mean, not that that staggered rib sock is all that complicated, but like if I'm doing something where I can't really pay attention to what I'm doing, it's nice to just have a plain vanilla sock. So I pulled out one of the, oh, I don't have the other one here. But anyway, one of the balls of the Arnie and Carlos Regia that I have. I have 2 colorways of this that I bought from Craftsy, coincidentally, or ironically, I'm not sure. Anyway, this is the Twilight colorway, which is number 3654. This does not at all look twilighty to me, neither the time of day nor the vampires, frankly. But it's pretty. I love the colors, actually. This is, of the 2 that I'm working on right now, this is my favorite color combination. So anyway, that's all the farther I am. This will probably go with me on my trip as well. Then I was up at Bill's this weekend, and we were going canoeing. It was my great idea. I'm like, hey, we haven't been out on the water. We have 5 million things to do before we leave for the wedding. Let's just take a day and do nothing productive and go canoeing instead. I didn't quite say it that way, but he was like, yeah, let's go. It'd be fun. So this is really like a 10% kind of story, which I can fill you in on later. But the point being, he has a motor for his canoe. No, I'm just going to tell you now. I'm sorry. I'm so far off the rails already. There's no getting back on track. He has a small outboard motor for his canoe that he's only used once, and then he did some other stuff to the boat or to the thing or the bracket. I don't know. And so he wanted to try it out again because this was the boat that we were planning to take with us to go to Florida next week, because after the wedding, like, we're going to have a few days when everybody else is gone, and so it'll be kind of like a mini honeymoon. We were planning to go to Okefenokee Swamp, and he wanted to be able to motor through the bigger areas because you can use motorized vehicles in certain areas and others you can't. You have to paddle. So he's like, well, let's, we're going to try this out. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because I really wanted to paddle on Sunday. I was like all about just getting outside in the fresh air and the sunshine and getting some exercise. I wanted to actually paddle the canoe. But he trumped me on that, and it's like, he vetoed me. I don't even want to use the word trump. Anyway, we're not going there. He vetoed that. He's like, no, I really want to try out the, the engine or the motor, the motor mounted thing or whatever. So, okay, fine. So I'm like, well, okay, well, I'm going to take knitting then. And he's like, that's fine. I'm like, okay. Well, I did not have my Twilight sock with me because I'm trying to keep projects at his house that I don't bring here to work on, and projects I have here that I'm not working on up there, at least for right now, just to limit the back and forth of everything. So I went into my basket of yarn and I pulled out The only other yarn that I could have used, because I didn't take a ton of sock yarn, because again, no Swift and ball winder, so I had to take yarn that was already wound. So when I was packing that basket, I thought, okay, I'm either going to take the Regia stuff, because I had another 2 balls of a different Arnie and Carlos colorway, or I could take Patton's Croy, which I have never knit with before either, and I have 2 colorways of that. Well, this colorway that I just showed you, the Twilight, is very, very similar in color. It's an orange, the Patton's Croy, the one that I have, and I thought I put that in the basket to take up there, and the other one that's like a purple and blue I left here. And so when I was up there, I'm thinking, well, I don't want to knit another pair of orange socks right now. So that kind of eliminated the Patton's Croy from my options. So I ended up having to pull out my other Arnie and Carlos yarn, which I would normally not do because I wouldn't want to use both of those at the same time. It just worked out that way. So that one is actually, I'm pretty sure, the colorway that's on here. Now, I did not bring that sock project back with me to show you, but I do have a picture of it, so I'll try to remember to insert that here. If not, you can find it on my my Ravelry project page. Anyway, so I worked on that, and it got wet, but it was fine because it's superwash. It actually shed the water really, really well. My whole little project bag that I had did. Nothing got damaged or anything, except the boat. That's a whole other story. We're probably not going to be taking that boat with us. We're going to be taking a different one. The outboard motor mount thing broke the gunnels. I'm learning boat lingo. I didn't know what the heck gunnels were. It's the wooden pieces that run around the top of the hull, the body of the boat. It just broke them right off, and it was because there's a lot of vibration from the motor, plus we were at Raystown Lake, which is about an hour and a half east of me, and there was hardly any other unmanned boats up there. We saw a few kayakers, that was it. It's mostly all speedboats and sea-doos and things like that, so there's a lot of chop. And I think just the vibration of the chop and the vibration of the engine, and because the hull of the boat is flexible, it has to be, or else you'd probably break. I don't know. I don't know boat stuff. But anyway, it broke. And like I'm in the front of the boat knitting away, and all of a sudden I hear this horrible noise. And I turn around and I see Bill holding the motor in his lap. And I thought, that can't be good. And he's like, it broke the gunnels. I'm like, what do we do now? He's like, paddle, start paddling. I need to figure out what I'm doing with it. So put my knitting away, had to paddle us over to the other side of the lake. Or it's more like, it's kind of a river and a lake altogether. I don't know. They call it Raystown Lake, but it's really kind of more of a rivery thing. I don't know. It's not super wide is my point. So I'm paddling us over there to get out of the way of all these other boats, you know, that are zipping past, so that he can figure out how to deal with this. And I'm thinking, why don't we just start paddling? Because at this point, we had gone 8 miles downriver, and we had just turned around to start coming back upriver when this broke. And I thought, if we have to paddle the whole way back, we need to start now, because it's going to take us several hours. So anyway, we got over there, and he found a way to reattach this motor mount bracket thing to a different part of the boat a little farther up on a thwart, which is the wooden part that goes across the boat. It like stabilizes things. The thwart and the gunnels and the bow, and I don't know. It wasn't in the bow. It was in the stern, right? Stern's the back? Yeah. So anyway, he gets that on, and then it took a while to get the motor started again because it had taken water in and the spark plug was wet and everything. So we did paddle for a while. And at this point, like, Bill does not get like frustrated and angry and like I would have been swearing at this thing by now. He doesn't get that way. He's very calm and nothing flusters him. However, like, I'm at this point just thinking, why are we just not paddling in general? Why are we messing with this thing? Why, you know, like, I'm getting frustrated and it's not even my deal to deal with. And then he starts criticizing my paddling, but nicely. Because like he's done this for decades. He is a highly experienced paddler. Like he used to do competitive whitewater. Like if you're watching the Olympics, the C2 stuff, he used to do that. Okay, he didn't do it in the Olympics. He did go to some, he was on the USA team for something international. I wish I knew the details. But anyway, that was a long time ago. But he knows his paddling stuff. And so he's criticizing my paddling, and I'm getting like, you know, like, because I don't take criticism super well sometimes, when I should have just said, okay. I got better, though. Everything worked out fine. In the long run, it broke the gunnels a second time and broke the thwart off. Okay, at which point we're like, okay, the heck with that, we're paddling. And we had the better part of the 8 miles to go. It took us 4 hours. Well, we probably have about 7 miles to go at that point. 4 hours to paddle back because of all the chop. It was just not an easy paddling situation at all. And it was not a particularly fast boat either. So anyway, that's my boating / knitting story. And he's like, I'm sorry I ruined your knitting time. I'm like, oh my gosh, your boat is broken in multiple places. It's not a big deal that I did not get to knit. I got to paddle for 4 hours, though. I said, I'm happy that I got to paddle. I'm sorry your boat broke, and that's the reason why we had to paddle. But it felt great to move and get exercise and everything. So anyway, the boat will live to see another day, though, because he's going to fix it. He knows how to fix the gunnels, and he's done all this research, and he's going to reconfigure the bracket and all this stuff. And you know, and I'm putting my 2 cents worth in on all this. Like, I know anything. I know some things, but not anything specific to boats. And I'm like, are you sure that's going to, like, really not compromise the structural integrity? Like, I sound like I know what I'm talking about. Although he has said that my thoughts do have merit, so I guess I do know something. Okay, one way or another, we will have a boat with us in Florida to go paddle. I did say it's probably good that we did this here and had this issue happen here rather than in the middle of the Okefenokee Swamp, because it's probably bad to have your motor fall off into the water while you're surrounded by alligators. Just a thought, you know? Okay. So yeah, fall night socks. They got a little bit of work while we're in the boat before I had to start paddling us back. Before we paddled us back. So, anyway, that's all of the knitting. I have no more knitting to show you. I did no spinning. Let's talk about the craft, the kit craft along. I am enjoying seeing all your projects. Thank you so much for your enthusiasm over this knit along. You know, I put together these knit alongs and craft alongs sometimes, and I'm never sure if anybody's going to really get into them or not. So it's fun when you guys do. I decided that since this is the last time I'll be podcasting before the wedding, and I won't be able to podcast again until like the very last week of August, the first week of September, that overlappy week. I wanted to do some prize drawings now, like participation prize drawings. So I did 3, and they are all for patterns. So if you are a winner of one of these 3 drawings, you can pick any pattern that is giftable through Ravelry up to $6. Let me know what it is, and I will gift it to you. Okay. So the first one I decided to do through Instagram, because we do have the Instagram tag. Well, it's also the tag you can use on Ravelry, but it's 90K Kit Along. I'm reading it so I get it right. So I went there and I checked. The last I checked, there were, I think, 6 pictures maybe. Oh boy. There's texts that I need to deal with, but I can't do that right now. Anyway, okay, when I looked at it, I think there were 6 pictures. So I did a random number generator between 1 and 6, and then winner was number 4, and it's Little Mermaid Fan. So Little Mermaid Fan from Instagram, please PM me on Ravelry and let me know what pattern that you would like gifted to you up to $6. So congratulations and thank you for participating. The other 2 prize winners I drew from the chatter thread, the craft along chatter thread. And the first one that was drawn was number 52, and that's Eliz Stitches Betts. So you are a pattern winner as well. Please PM me and let me know what pattern you would like. And the second one was post number 40, and that's Gigi of 6, who is Gwen. So Gwen, congratulations. Thanks for taking part in the craft along, and please PM me with your pattern choice up to $6. So thank you to all three of you. That was fun, and I hope you have a pattern in mind that you would like. So please PM me, and I will get those patterns set out to you as soon as I can. Let's see. I guess that's everything for the craft line. Again, that goes until September 15th. So, oh, I did have a question in the chatter thread that I just read right before I started recording. In the guidelines, I guess I did not specify whether works in progress could be used for this or not, because some of my alongs they can and some they can't. This is not one of them that you can. Everything has to be started and finished within that August 1st to September 15th window. I kind of implied it the way I wrote things, but it's not specified. So I'm clarifying now. Your projects have to have been started on or after August 1st and finished on or before September 15th. Okay. A question. We have a question from, you know what? Hang on a minute. I'm going to do two other things. No, I'm going to do one other thing, then I'll do the question. The Riley Rose pattern drawing, I did that too. Since we're giving away patterns, I figured I might as well put that all together. I did the drawing for that right before I started recording, and the winner was actually I had to draw twice because the first winner, the first number that came up was a post, but it was from somebody who was just a guest in the group. And I can't give you the prize because the rules stipulate that you have to be a member of the group. That's always a rule for 90% knitting drawing, so I'm very, very sorry. However, number 7 was the winner that I drew the second time around. So number 7 is Amanda B. And your prompt for this one was, oh boy, I have to read it. Jennifer's pattern is dedicated to her niece, the shawl's namesake, Riley Rose. And so I said, tell us what's the best thing about having a niece or a nephew, or if you don't have one, but you are one, what's the best thing about being one? Or if you're an aunt or an uncle, what's the best thing about that? Feel free to share a story or a picture if you'd like to. So Amanda B., her answer was, one of the best things is getting to see my little brother as a dad. I also love seeing his kids and my kids interact. So that's very cool. I can't really say that I can answer this much. I don't have a lot of nieces and nephews. I did while I was married. Now they're like ex-nieces and nephews that I never get to communicate with for the most part. I'm an only child, so I don't have any nieces or nephews. As a niece, though, my mom has one sister, so I just got to see my aunt. Like when I was in Florida these past 2 times for the funeral and everything. I did get to see my aunt, which was nice because I have not seen her much at all in my adult years. So that was nice. But you know what? My dad was one of 5 children. He had 4 step siblings. And growing up, my dad's side of the family, because my dad was 25 years older than my mom, and so there was a huge age gap between, like, most of his family and me. Like, I could have been a grandchild in that family, but I wasn't. Or I could have been my dad's grandchild, I guess is what I'm saying. Anyway, my aunts and uncles in that side of the family, I didn't know very well because my dad didn't really get along super well with all of his family, but he had one sister who he did pretty much get along with, and she was sort of the black sheep of the family, and I loved visiting her. She was kind of like the crazy cool aunt back in the day, as much as you could be, you know, the one who dyed her hair bright red, and she always had bright red lips, things like that. Those are the things I remember about her. She passed away when I was in high school, so I don't, you know, it's been quite a while. But I really enjoyed being around my Aunt Ruth. I just thought she was a lot of fun. Every once in a while they'd take me over and let me like hang out with her at her apartment. I never got to spend the night, and I didn't understand why back then. Now I do kind of understand, because she had some issues that probably would not have been a super healthy place to leave a young child. But all the same, she was a wonderful woman, and I have good memories of her. So that would be my answer to this. Okay, now let's jump back to questions. I did have a question from Care Bear 1103. Let me get to that thread and I will read you her question specifically. Okay, so Care Bear 1103, and that's Karen from Virginia. Hi, Karen. Thanks for your question. 2 questions. First, we see a lot of Muffin lately, but what about your cat? Would love to have a kitty update. Okay, let me answer that one first. My cat is still around. Babette is not super social. Like, she doesn't really come in here much when I'm recording or anything. She doesn't spend a lot of time in my office at all, which is a fine thing for me because there's a lot of things I'd rather her not be in. But she's still quite alive and active. Matter of fact, I've posted to Instagram a few times this last week because she's just been crazy. So there's a few Instagram pictures, and actually I put a little video of her up on Instagram this morning because she was just wild. And you know, if you've ever had a cat try to help you make the bed, yeah, that's what she was doing this morning, and she was chasing her tail. It was so funny. So anyway, but Babette's fine. She's just, you know, she's a cat that doesn't really feel the need to interact with me super often on any, you know, podcasting kind of basis, but she's good. All right, the second half of the question was, second, having watched every single episode, I really miss hearing your updates about Emma. How is she enjoying college, and how is her health? Thank you for asking. I told her somebody asked about her. She's like, oh, that's sweet. Emma is very good. She is getting ready to start her 3rd year of college, which technically will turn into her senior year because of credits that she had going into college. Long story, but anyway, she's doing excellent. She loves school. She has blossomed so much and just flown on her own. You know, she takes care of everything on her own. She doesn't need me to do much for her. She's very self-confident and very, it's just what you want to see your daughter grow into, you know, a self-confident girl who's very outgoing, very bubbly, very sure of herself, and doesn't really let other people influence her. I mean, I'm sure she does in a way, because we all do in a way, but you know, she's a wonderful young woman, and I'm so proud of her. I'm going to get emotional now. I can't wait to see her next week. Anyway, she's doing really well in school, and her health has been really good, actually. She still gets migraines occasionally. The heat definitely does not help that, and it's been very, very hot and humid down in Charlotte from what I understand, so that's not been super great for her, but you know, it'll pass. But as far as her Crohn's, she's been doing really, really well. She had her 5-year colonoscopy earlier this summer, and she was fine. They said, you know, they could see signs of past flare-ups, but they said there's no active disease right now. She just needs to continue with her medications and her Remicade infusions, and, you know, check back in 5 years. And, well, I mean, obviously she sees her GI more than that, but, you know, they'll check again with the colonoscopy in 5 years. So, yeah, I'm so thankful that she's doing well, because, you know, the stress of school and stress in general is not good for someone with Crohn's. I know that's what always used to make mine flare up. Which I have it very mildly compared to what she has it. But yeah, she's handled it well, and she's doing fine, and she's healthy, and yeah. So anyway, thank you for asking, and no, those questions were not too intrusive, so I appreciate that you care and asked about my girls, my fuzzy one and my other one. All right, let's see, where are we? New things. Oh my gosh. Okay, the new things. I guess it's wedding stress or pre-wedding stress, but it has brought on like this reaction in me that has me shopping a lot online. I've placed 4 Amazon orders in the last 2 or 3 days, like multiple orders a day. Amazon Prime shipping's awesome. You can do that without getting killed on shipping fees. I ordered here. This is the only thing that's come so far. A whole bunch of stuff's supposed to come today. You know, I'm doing this sewing. Oh, that's what I didn't bring in. I'm going to have to pause and go get this so I can show you. But, you know, I started sewing, and I was watching the Yarngasm podcast last week, and Kristen was showing or talking about, I don't know if she actually showed it, but she was talking about her bias tape maker. And I thought, that sounds awesome. So I ordered a set. There was a set that has 2, so it makes 2 different sizes of bias tape. It's from Dritz. I have no idea when I'll have the need to make bias tape, but it seemed like a really cool idea. So maybe I'll have to find a reason to make bias tape. I don't know, but now I have bias tape makers. Oh gosh, I haven't purchased any yarn online. I know I've purchased at least one project bag. I've purchased a drop spindle. As these things come in, I will share them with you, but they're not here yet. I don't know what it is. Some of the Amazon shipping, or the Amazon purchases though, are wedding related. You know what, let me, oh, I've got one other thing I want to tell you under new things, although this isn't really a thing for me, it's a thing for you. Let me talk about that right now. And one of our viewers, her name is Monique. She's Dutch Girl 63 on Ravelry. She's from British Columbia, and she has recently opened a new shop on Etsy. It's called Frog Peak Creations, and she makes project bags and sells handspun. And she has offered us a coupon code that is good from now through the rest of the year. So thank you so much, Monique. That is so very kind of you. The code is 90knit2016. 90KNIT 2016, and that is good for 10% off anything you order from her shop now through the end of the year. So you could get some new things too. Anyway, thank you, Monique, and please go and enjoy Monique's goodies. Her bags are really cute. Let me talk to you real quick about shop news. The Foxes and Soxes collaboration sets went up for pre-order on Monday. There were 20 of them. There are only 4 left. So if you want one, or you're thinking about it, or you're on the fence, you may want to grab it now, because they're not going to probably last a whole lot longer. And as a set, they're not going to be available again. The individual components will be released after 3 months at the, designer and crafter's discretion, and that is Melissa from Meltran Designs, who did the pattern, the medallion pattern for the shawl, and Darlene from Bags by Awesome Granny. She did the bags. So, and I did the yarn, obviously. Anyway, I just want to let you know that there are 4 sets left. They will ship out by the end of August, and yeah, I'm so happy with the reception of those, and I hope those of you who ordered them really enjoy them once you get them. And please go buy one if you still want one. There's 4 left. As for updates, obviously I am not doing any more updates between now and the wedding. There's just no way that could happen. So I get back the last weekend of the month. I am planning tentatively to do an update on Friday, September 2nd, which will be the Friday after I get back. I will record earlier that week, so I'll be able to let you know for sure. But you can pretty much assume there should be one that Friday. I don't know what time yet. I'm planning on it to be mostly a self-striping sport weight update, because I have not done a lot of sport weight for the shop in a while, and I know a lot of you really like my sport weight, my traveler base, which is an 80/20 superwash merino nylon. And so I'm going to do self-striping sock, or self-striping sport weight, and semi-solids. I'm going to restock my sport weight semi-solids as well. So anyway, all right, now let's do 10%. And I'm putting it last this week just because I'll probably babble for a while. 8 days till the wedding, right? Did I say that? I think I said that a few times. Although in my notes here I wrote 9 days to the wedding. That's because I wrote my notes yesterday. Okay, 8 days till the wedding. Let's talk about sewing. First of all, thank you to everyone who sent me tips or thoughts about how to modify my top, my too big armhole under the arm area issue that I had last week. Louise, LZH, she posted in the episode thread about how I could modify that without taking the interfacings completely out and ripping my whole seams. Her advice on just undoing a small bit of it right there under the arm, and then bringing that seam in, and then adjusting the interfacing right there, worked perfectly. It worked perfectly. It fits wonderfully now. I did manage to get some weird little blip kind of down here on the side because I had to taper, like I went in and then I tapered it down about 5 or 6 inches. There's this weird little bump there now, but it may iron out. I'm not too worried about it. Believe me, I'm not worried about it. Otherwise, it fits great. I hemmed it. I hemmed by hand. I posted a picture on Instagram. I was taught to hem things by hand. That's how my mom taught me. My mother used to do a lot of sewing, and that was her thing. You hem by hand. You don't hem on a machine. It's like, I have hemmed things on machines before, although I really do prefer the look of a hand-hemmed item. And I don't mind doing it. It's very zen. It's very like Kitchener stitch for me. You know, it's just sort of nice and relaxing. So anyway, the top is completely finished. The knit skirt obviously is finished. I still have some ends to weave in. I need to do that yet. So that left the petticoat. So I attacked the petticoat the other day. I'm going to show it to you. It's not a hot mess completely, but I will be the first to admit I did not pay attention to detail on the petticoat nearly like I did on the top, mainly because the petticoat's going to be under the skirt and you're not going to really see any of the strangeness. I did use the Simplicity skirt pattern as my basis for the over skirt part, like the part that you'll see through the knitted skirt, because you had to have that, and that was what I was attaching the tulle to as well for the puffiness. So this is Simplicity 8211. I did skirt A, the longer one, which was fine. Basically what I did was I cut these pieces out. It was 4 pieces, and the one I didn't even do because it was pockets. My petticoat did not need pockets. It had a zipper, an invisible zipper in it. I've never done an invisible zipper before, and I've learned that you can actually stitch too closely to the invisible zipper to make it not zip correctly. So I had to fix that. So it was a front, a back, and the waistband. The waistband for this, the sizing on this skirt was not exactly appropriate for me. I needed to add about 8 inches to the waistband. But since this is all gathered, you know, if you can see on here, these are all gathered. So I knew I would have plenty of skirt fabric to accommodate the larger waistband, and it worked fine. The thing that I did not want, though, I did not want extra puffiness. Basically, I cut these pieces out and then completely ignored the directions for the rest of the time because I was doing something totally different than having just a skirt. My zipper is not pretty on this one. Oh my gosh, the stitching is very ugly. I'm not showing you that. But anyway, what I did instead of doing the gathering, I pleated it. They're sort of messy pleats, but it made it flatter than if I would have put gathers in, and that's what I wanted. I wanted the top part to be flatter. So that's that. Then I cut the tulle. Oh my gosh, miles and miles of tulle. And you can see on the inside. There are 2 layers of tulle. The upper layer is the longest one. It's a single layer of tulle, and then the lower layer, I'm looking in here like you can see it. There's a lower layer of tulle which is shorter. I mean, they both come to the bottom of the skirt, essentially. You can't really see it the way I'm holding it, but it does. It's under there. The lower layer is double, so it's shorter and double. So there's a little more puffiness at the bottom, which is what you want. Sewing in the tulle was a real trip, especially because I have these pleats. You know, even if it was just gathered, it'd still have the same issue. So you can see how it's just sort of crazy messy. The bottom one, the second one, is even more of a hot mess. Oh my gosh, look on this side. Like, I ended up with this big lump of fabric all sewn together right here because it's just how the fabric fell, and I couldn't see the bottom. Oh my God, it was crazy. Because I was sewing from the inside, like I was paying attention to the tulle on the inside. I couldn't see what I was doing on the outside. It's fine. You can't see any of that crazy messy stuff when I have the skirt over it or when it's under the skirt, because I got to put the skirt on and then put this on underneath. The only thing I have to do yet is put a snap on at the top of the zipper. It is actually quite loose in the waist. I'm going to have to really cinch this in with the with the snap, and I may actually have to put a couple of darts in the back to snug this up a bit, because this is actually, even though it's just cotton cloth and tulle, it's a little weighty, and I don't want it to be sagging down while I'm wearing it, so I may have to modify that a tiny bit, but in general, it is fine. It works. It serves my purpose. The only thing I have left to do is, instead of hemming it, I am going to cut a strip of this tulle, which is this funky sparkly tulle, and I'm going to edge the hem in a band of that, about as wide as that last lace panel that had the hearts. So that will be the lower part of the petticoat. I put this on. I was texting Emma as I was finishing this up, and I put it on, and I texted her, and I showed her the picture of the skirt with the petticoat underneath it, and then I said, "Oh my gosh, this is crawling up my legs. How do you keep the tulle from doing that?" Because she used to use petticoats all the time for cosplay kind of stuff. And she's like, "Magic." I'm like, "Thanks, that's really not helpful." So I got online on Amazon, one of my Amazon purchases, and I purchased a slip that I can wear underneath the petticoat. So I'll have a slip and the petticoat and skirt. I'm going to be roasting probably, but at least hopefully the tulle will not creep up my legs, because I was sweaty, it was hot. It's not going to be any better during the wedding, so I need the tulle to not be attacking my legs and crotch, just so you know. So that's the sewing. Almost done. Otherwise, like, I've got my master list here of everything that needs to be done wedding-wise and post-wedding-wise, and like with houses, and yeah, it's a lot. And everything that's crossed off in pink is stuff that I've already done. Oh, there's more back here. But the things that aren't crossed off in pink, there's some pretty significant things on here. There's just actually not significant. There's little things. Like, there's little things I still need to do. Like, I need to find jewelry. I didn't even think about jewelry for the wedding, and I'm not going to go buy good jewelry, and I'm not wearing a necklace. It's going to be way too hot. Even though that neckline of that shirt would really showcase a necklace nicely. I just want some nice sort of fun, dangly purple earrings, like stones, rhinestone. I don't know. I'll find something. Beach decor. Thank you so much to everybody who wrote and gave me ideas about where I could find shrunken heads. Oh my gosh, that was hilarious. So many of you got such a kick out of my shrunken head story last week. I accidentally mentioned the shrunken head thing to my mom the other day, and she flipped out. Oh my gosh, she was not amused. I tried to explain it to her, and then I just sort of dropped it. And then last night, Bill and I were on the phone with her, like she was on speakerphone, and we were talking, and it came up again, and she again got a little anxious about it, or not anxious, angsty, or angry, maybe angry. I said, it was Bill's idea. And so since he was on the phone, like, she couldn't really say anything, you know. Well, basically that's what she said. Well, and I'm sure she rolled her eyes because, you know. Anyway, there are going to be cowbells involved in the wedding. Well, yeah, don't even ask. This came up at the concert that we were at last Friday. There was a cowbell in one of the songs, and we're like, hey, that needs more cowbell. And I'm like, our wedding needs more cowbell. And we started laughing, and we decided to get cowbells for everybody to ring at the end of the service. So yeah. But then, of course, because I'm on Pinterest, Pinterest is going to be my death before this wedding, I decided we had to personalize the cowbells. So I also bought like this metal punch set that has alphabet letters and date, you know, numbers to do the date. So we're going to be punching these cowbells this weekend. And then I bought 7 stuffed rabbits because, oh my gosh, the rabbits are a really long story, and it has nothing to do with fertility, trust me. But it's part of what people are going to get sort of as a favor. And it's going to have like this little quote attached to it from the Velveteen Rabbit about love and how, you know, does it hurt to become real? No, it happens when you're loved, and things like that. Anyway, don't ask. There will be rabbits. That's the thing. You know how when you order things on Amazon or you search for things online, then suddenly like every website you're on, like the sidebar ads start showing up the things you've searched for? Okay. Shrunken heads, cowbells, rabbits, slips, metal punch sets. Okay, my ad things are going crazy, and they're probably thinking, this woman is schizophrenic. It's nuts. Anyway, so yeah, we've got a lot of things to do yet. I've got a lot of things to do. I'm not making him do all the crazy stuff because seriously, I get on Pinterest and I'm like, oh my god, I saw this cute thing, and it's like really, and he's like okay, that seems like a lot of work. I don't think I would do that, but I'm like, but I want to do it. It'll be nice. He's like, okay, yeah. So anyway, all right. I think that's everything. I will see you after my wedding. I'll be around on Instagram, and I will be around on Ravelry, hopefully as much as I can be. Probably mostly Instagram, though, between now and when I get back. So if you want to see updates, check me out on Instagram. Again, if you try to friend me on Instagram, my account is private. So if you friend me on Instagram, if you don't have anything, if your account is private and there's no way for me to see your pictures or know that you're a knitter, or if I can't, if there's nothing in your profile that shows me that you are a knitter or that I would know you from Ravelry or that you watch the podcast or something, you know, obviously you're not going to put that in your profile. I watched Lisa's podcast. I just need to know that you're a knitter and not some random crazy person, because I've had some incidents. I've said this before, and I hate to be overly paranoid. But, you know, I do post personal pictures, like of family and things like that on my Instagram feed. So I kind of like to have at least some mild assurance that you're a normal person from the knitting community. Not that there are not abnormal people in the knitting community. Case in point. No, really. You know what I hope you know what I mean. So if that's the case, because sometimes I do just, I reject things if I can't tell who you are or how I would know you or how you would know me. And I hate to do that, but it's just, it's a paranoid thing for me, and I like to play things safe. So anyway, if that's the case, you know, PM me on Rav and let me know, hey, I friended you on Instagram, my name is whatever, and, you know, then we're cool. So anyway, alrighty, that's it. Have a good next couple of weeks. I will be back and tell you all about the wedding shenanigans the last week of the month, and you can follow along in pictures on Instagram, and yeah, that's about it. I'll see you in a couple weeks. Bye.